I'm going to consider are things that you might want to plant up from seed in on your windowsill. And I'm going to just chat very quickly about microgreens. Microgreens are vegetables that you can harvest when they're very young, and they're green. They're green veg that you can harvest when they're very young. So you can order these online or go to the garden centre, but there's quite a range of them now. They've become quite fashionable, but they're very easy to grow, like the mustard and cress and the things, but they do need some compost. This is a mustard. It's called red carpet, so that's quite a nice one to have. You can have some nice garlic chives. It's very fine. As you can see, they're very fine, but they're lovely. They'll be very tasty. I quite fancy those garlic chives. Or this is another example. This is Swiss chard. So they're just lovely tastes that you can pop into a salad, and they're very quick to grow and delicious. So a lot of these things you would want to grow successively. That means you would have to keep putting in a new crop, keep sowing a new crop every 2 weeks or so, just to keep you keep it going, so that you would have a continuous supply. So here are some more things that here are some more suggestions. So there are salad leaves, and it's great to go along and just have a good browse through all the things that are available. This is called Speedy Mix. So it's a quick growing mix of salad leaves, and I'm going to show you how to sow these in a few minutes. We've got some other ones here. These are nice and spicy, so it depends what you taste. Always choose what you like to eat. That's a great way of growing things that you're going to enjoy. You could grow rocket. So you can see that's nice and easy on your windowsill. Also spinach. Spinach is a good one as well, and that's very, very nutritious. And look out for this symbol here when you're looking for seeds. That's the RHS. It's an award, a merit award, and that they always grow quite well for you. Here's another RHS one. This is radish. Radish is great for quick results, and they're lovely, colourful vegetables too. And don't just stick with the traditional. Have a look at this. This is radish, but they're called rainbow mix, and they come in all sorts of shades, from dark sort of beetroot colours through reds and yellows to almost white. So there's a big range there in radish. And it's the same with carrots. You can get all these different varieties. So try something different if you want to. You can grow beetroot as well on your windowsill. And this is one that we grow actually. I don't grow it on my windowsill, but I do grow it outside, but you can start it off on the windowsill if you want. And it's great for bottling, putting in vinegar and saving over the winter. And if you're looking for a recipe, I would recommend Jamie Oliver's recipe for pickling beetroot. It's great. So that's another extension activity you could think about. I've also got carrots here. Now I've chosen this little carrot. It's not a long carrot, it's a small carrot. So it can be grown in a shallow container, doesn't need a lot of depth, and it says fast maturing snack size carrots, perfect for containers. So there's lots of information on these seed packets for you to have a look. So carrots you can grow. I would say it's really interesting to grow carrots in, if you can get a fruit container like this, it's like a grape box, and grow carrots in that. I've got a activity sheet about this, which I'm going to include in tomorrow's email, a link to it. But if you can grow your carrots in this box, you'll be able to see them actually grow in the box. So it's fascinating. You see the root and you can see it getting fat, and you can see it turning into, actually turning into a carrot. So it's a lovely way to grow them, and you can grow them on your windowsill. So bear that in mind as an idea to do that. And what else have I got here? I'm just putting a word in here for nasturtiums, because you can eat them. They're very edible. Both their flowers and their leaves. They're very tasty. They're quite peppery. They're quite interesting to to grow, and they look very pretty as well. So consider them. Last but not least, I've got peas. So peas, we can either start them off on the windowsill to grow them on outdoors, or you can grow them for pea shoots. So there's a variety called Twinkle, which is good if you want to grow pea shoots, but you can look out for any variety. They'll say on there that they are for pea shoots, so you can have a good look and see. This again is another RHS one because I think it's quite a good variety. I'm going to have a go with this year, and I'm going to show you how to sow the pea shoots in a box in a few minutes. So that's a large selection of veg and edible things that you can grow on your windowsill. And it doesn't take up much room, which is a great thing because you can just have them in small amounts, but they're very delicious. So, what do we need to do? I'm going to sow these salad leaves first of all, and just organise myself so I can get the compost. So I'm using compost. Now, when you're growing seeds, it's probably best if you can get some compost that mentions seeds in it, seeds and cutting compost, because it has a little bit of extra food in it for seeds. So it encourages them to root and give you a healthy crop. And usually these things come with feed in them that will last a good 6 weeks. So sorry, so this one's 2 to 3 weeks, it says. So if you're keeping something in the container for more than 3 weeks, you would want to feed it additionally. But for the purposes of these salad leaves, 3 weeks is possibly enough. So that's the compost. It's a good idea to store your compost indoors if you can. It just makes it more comfortable for people to use it when they come to do it. If you're doing it as an indoor activity, it's just nice to have the compost nice and warm. There's nothing worse than opening a bag of compost and it's cold and it's wet and it's horrible and you don't want to put your hands in it. So you want to make this inviting. So so this is like a warm summer's day, I have to say, this compost, because it's been in the house for the last couple of days. And but you can see that, but it's actually just quite a lovely it's quite lovely compost. Just get something in my hand. So you can see it's nice and it's breaking down really nicely there. It's nice and crumbly. It feels like breadcrumbs if you're not breadcrumbs. If you're making scones or something like that, and if you're rubbing together your flour and your butter, that's what it feels like. It's got a really nice texture. It's a nice activity with people is to get them to get the lumps out of the compost. So some people really enjoy this. I have to say I'm one of them. You can dig your hand in here and just get the lumps out of the compost so it's nice and smooth for what you're going to do, because you're going to be sowing seeds. They're quite small, some of these, so you need your compost to be quite fine. You don't want it big and lumpy. So I'm just going to spend a moment just sifting this with my hands. Just put your hands in and do it like that. It's easier to decant your compost into a large container like this so you can work with it. And it's also nice to get into a good working posture. So I'm standing up now because that's a whole lot easier. So it's important to make sure people are comfortable where they're working. And just make sure that they're able to reach easily. Do that. So there we are. I've made this compost nice now. It's lovely. And just want to, I'm going to take one of these trays. It's quite shallow, this one. You don't need a lot of compost for these. So you want to just use whatever, I'm using my hands here, but consider using a scoop if you have one. Someone might like using a scoop like that, or don't be afraid to raid the cutlery drawer, as I do, and use some cutlery. Sometimes people like a spoon, and choose one that's going to fit the job. Sometimes if you're doing something in a very small pot, it's fine to use a teaspoon, but just choose a tool that's going to help you achieve what you want to do. So can fill this up like so. And you just need to shake the tray to get the compost level. You don't have to press it down, just shake it, give it a little bump it like that, and it just gets it nice and level. And I just want to a bit more there. There we go. So whatever kind of container you're using, fill it up about 4/5 with your compost, and then get a hold of your seeds. Now, there's many a time I've ripped open a seed packet only to find the seeds come flooding out and go everywhere. So I would suggest always go in with a pair of scissors, if you can, and see what you've got. These seeds feel like they're actually sealed in a little packet, so that's fine. I'm not going to have a big spill everywhere, but I'm just going to put the top off there. And seed packets contain lots of good information. I always find they're terrible difficult to get into. I think the bottom of this one. The seeds. So yeah. So the trick is to get in without destroying the information on the back. That's going to tell you when to sow it and how to sow it. So here we go. So these seeds, as you can see, are in this little sealed packet. Give it a tap so that they're all down at the bottom. And then you can easily pop the top off. And then into your hand like that. Now you can see these are absolutely minute. They just look like little black balls. So a good thing to do is pop them into a little container. One that's going to give you a bit of contrast. Yeah, focus right up to there. You can see that any better, but seeds are always fascinating. This is a mix, so not all the seeds are the same. There's some here that I don't think you can see that, the colour's not so good in here, but I can see some of them are sort of a russety colour, some are very black, and some are beige. So there's a mix of different plants that are going to grow from here. But I would say pop your seed into a small container like that. Makes it much easier to handle. You can go in and you can take a little pinch, and that way you can control what you're putting out there in the seed tray. So I'm just going to tip all these seeds in here. There's quite a lot of them. If you open a seed packet, you don't have to use them all. You can always reseal it and keep it in an airtight container for next time. So there we are, got our seeds. And sometimes if, like this, you want a bit more bulk to hold on to, you could put some sand in there to mix in with the seed, and that way it could make it easier just to pinch it and sow it. But I'm just going to sow it on the top. So you just sprinkle it over. I want to make it quite dense, so I'm going to use most of this seed. Sprinkle it over the top here. And you can't see that, but it's just evenly spreading them over. So they're covering the surface. It's just as easy as that. Yeah. We try to be random. But if you've got any spaces, just make sure you've got them all covered. And that's it. Okay, so that's my packet of seed in there. So what I want to do now is just cover this very lightly with some more compost, and I'm going to use my hand for this because I want it to be quite a thin layer, because you don't want it to be, you don't want them to be deep underground, you just want them to have just a little light covering of compost on top. So just a little light covering just to make sure you've got them all nicely tucked in. That's it, and another just another little shape there, just to get your compost down like so. And then you want to give it a water. Okay, so I did mention that this has got holes in the bottom, so just beware. You want to keep your tray dry. Find, yeah, but you have to find your tray that doesn't have holes in it. Sorry. This one. Pop it in there, I'm not going to get any leaks. Okay, so this is lovely. You can control the spray of this by tipping it up. If you tip it up, it doesn't actually, well, it does drip a little bit. I can get it to stop doing that. It doesn't drip much, but you have to apply just a little bit of pressure and it comes out in a nice spray. So you want to just dampen your compost. There it is, ready to go onto the windowsill. Keep your compost moist. It doesn't have to be absolutely soaking, but you do want to keep it moist. So just check it every day or every couple of days, depending on how much time you've got, and it will soon be sprouting up. It's good to write a little label, just to remind you what you've sown if you're doing lots of this, and put the date that you're sowing it. So this is the 22nd, 2202, 24, and salad, speedy mix. There we go. Tuck that in, just to remind you. So this one is going to germinate in 5 to 7 days. So you're going to see some nice little leaves coming up then, and it's to grow up to about 6 inches, and it's going to give you all these lovely leaves that you can harvest and pop in your salad. So that's a cracker for that. There. So another thing I mentioned were peas and pea shoots, and they're delicious in lots of things. And as I say, you can choose to grow peas on the window just now, start them off in the windowsill, and then plant them out later. So if you want to sow some peas for pea shoots, that's a nice thing to do. Once more, get your tray and fill it with the compost. Again, you want to fill it about 4/5 full. So give it a bit of a dump. Okay, and peas are much bigger than your salad. And then your lettuce and salad are much bigger. So these are going to, oops, pea size. Once again, getting into the pea packets, the challenge. Just the scissors. So here are the peas. So they just look like wrinkled dried peas. And once again, it's easier if you just have a shallow bowl or a container that you can pop them in. you can, they're much easier to handle that way. You can get in about them and hold them and see them. So what we're going to do is fill this container. Now you want to plant them in little rows, and you want to put them about 1 centimetre apart. So just pop them on the top like that, put a centimetre in between, like that, until you've filled up your tray. So keep them a centimetre. You could probably plant in between, couldn't you? That. This is a nice one. Keep going until you've filled the tray up. Again, you just want to cover that with a very thin layer of compost. Give it a water and pop your label in and pop it on the windowsill. And you will be enjoying some pea shoots within a few days. I think this is another one. This is probably within 10 to 14 days you're going to get a nice crop from. So that's a lovely one to be having a go at. So finally, I'm just going to talk over a few other ideas of things that you might want to do if you'd like to do some cooking. You might want to have herbs on your windowsill, and you quite possibly have. These are nice to have. You can buy them in the supermarket, of course, or you can grow them from seed. This is basil, which you can grow on a warm windowsill, and it's lovely. You can use these not just for cooking, but just for a lovely sensory activity of, guess the herb. You rub the leaves, have a sniff, see what it is, see if people can identify it. So that's some lovely basil there. This is mint that will grow successfully on your windowsill. You don't have to have it outside, which is a more traditional way of growing it. Have that on your windowsill. That's lovely. Ooh, you can put that in all sorts of things. Potatoes, new potatoes, they'll be coming soon. Ice cream, all sorts of things like that. And also this is needing a water actually. This is some rosemary. You can keep that indoors too. It depends on the winters here in Scotland. Sometimes we get our rosemaries last the winter, sometimes they don't, but you could bring your rosemary in and pop it on the windowsill and overwinter it if you wanted to do that. And they are very fragrant. They've got lovely, delicious scent from rosemary, so that's a very lovely one to handle and have a look at. And sometimes that's just a very rewarding activity, just taking time to look at the differences in the types of leaves, look at the veins, and you can feel them, how different they feel, as well as their different scents. And of course, the good thing is you can have a little nibble at them, you can eat them. So think about having some herbs on your windowsill. And just finally, a couple of other suggestions that I wanted to make. You can successfully grow chilies and peppers on your windowsill. The RHS have a lovely guide to growing chilies, so you can have a little look at that. But they grow very well on windowsills, and you can get lots of chilies. The nice thing is you can harvest them and dry them, so they'll keep for you as well. And they're usually very prolific, so that's quite an interesting one to do. You can also, if you want to grow some tomatoes, and if you choose a small bush variety of tomato, you can of course grow that. Tomato plants will be in the shops probably from next month that they come in. But if you have tomatoes that you like the taste of, like these nice little pickle ones, and you fancy growing them, you can harvest the seed from your tomatoes, and that's quite easy. I'm just going to very quickly show you how to do that. Pick your tomato. And then just get a bit of kitchen paper. So you want to slice up your tomato, squeeze out the seeds onto your kitchen paper. You can see there's lots of them in this one, loads in there. That's it. So each of these little seeds will grow you a little plant. So what you want to do is just pop these in a sieve, run them under the cold tap, give them a good rinse, get rid of the juice that's on them, and then pop them onto another piece of kitchen paper. Just dry them off on the windowsill in the sunshine till they're dry, and then sow seeds just like we've demonstrated today. Sow them in a box and grow them on the windowsill and see if you can get some seedlings. There'll be lots here. You can share them with all your friends and you can grow these lovely, delicious tomatoes. So that's another one to try. And the very last thing I'm going to talk about is chitting potatoes. Chitting potatoes means that you're getting the potatoes ready to plant. And what you have to do is get them out, get your seed potatoes out, you buy them. Potatoes for seeds, here we go. I don't know if you can see that, but these potatoes have got these eyes, these little indentations in them. And what you're doing when you're chitting is you're encouraging these potatoes to sprout, and they're going to have little sprouts come out of where these eyes are. So a good thing to do is pop them in an egg box, keeps them facing the right way up, keeps them nice and portable. Stick that on your windowsill. Chip your potatoes, and they're going to be ready to plant out come next month. And we're going to be talking about this in our March Garden Bite, so look out for that. I think that's coming out next week, so that's in an email. So don't forget to sign up for our emails. And I'm just going to invite you now to share your experiences and ideas. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them. Lorna.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Right, I'm just going to remove the spotlight from tabletop so that we can see everybody. Does anybody have any questions for Jenny or any experience of growing things on your windowsill that you'd like to share? Feel free just to unmute, start talking, raise your hand, or put something in the chat.
I feel like I've raced through that. I don't know if I have.
Oh, we have a question. Great.
Excellent.
So when you have your, well, it's a couple of questions, so I'll just break them up a little bit, Jenny, if that's okay. When you have your windowsill herbs, which leaves should you pull off?
Okay, so harvest the largest ones first, because if you do that, then it leaves the smaller ones to develop a bit more for you. So you can, when you come back the next time, they're ready to pick. And it's the same for your salad leaves as well. Pick the largest first. That's
okay. And do the leaves that you take off grow back?
They don't necessarily grow back, but what it does do is allows a bit of space for the ones that are smaller and underdeveloped to actually get bigger, and so when you come back again, they'll be ready. That's the idea.
And when you're picking the leaves, if you pick kind of a lot of them off, do you then have to buy a new plant, or will more leaves grow?
Well, for this type of mix, I think you probably you're growing individual leaves. You're not really, it's not like a lettuce where you would be, it's not like a lettuce that is a big fat lettuce and there's lots and lots of leaves on each individual plant. It's sort of like one or two leaves for each plant. So when you pick them, when you finish picking them, you're going to have to sow them again. Does that make sense? You're going to have to. So what you could do is sow these ones this week, and then in 2 weeks' time, sow another little tray so that you've got a continuous crop. You've got continuous ones ripening every time so that you get it continuously. So that's how to do it.
And can you grow another plant if you let these go to seed and harvest them?
That's a very good question. I don't know if I have the answer to that. I think you can if you're saving if you let them go to seed and save them and see if they'll work for you. But I'm sorry, I'm not an expert on seeds and growing. Some things are, yeah, I don't know. I think it's very experimental. Try it and see. You can certainly do it with tomatoes. You can grow tomatoes from tomato seeds, but whether you can with other plants, I think it depends on the varieties that you choose. But you can just give it a go. If you're doing it at home, it's no problem. Just give it a try. Nobody's going to worry about licensing seeds or anything like that. So you could just give it a go.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else have any other questions or experiences?
Yeah, so every couple of weeks, that's the thing to do.
Yeah.
And then you'll have fresh ones coming up. Because you are picking
When
them
do you
when,
try?
oh,
Sorry.
sorry, I say what you are doing is you're picking them when they're quite young plants. So, you know, you're picking the leaves. So yeah, successive sowing, that's what you need to do to keep your crop.
And when do you transfer the potatoes into the soil?
When they've chitted, when they've grown their little stalks, not stalks, but little sprouts. That's when you transfer them into your what you're going to grow them in. And we have a grow potatoes in a bag activity sheet. So that's a good one to do. If you've not got much room, you can grow them in a bag, but you grow them outdoors. You wouldn't grow them inside, you would grow them outdoors. So you'd pop them on your patio or on your doorstep and grow them there.
Any more questions for Jenny? Feel free to just unmute as well and shout out any questions. So here's one. Do you keep topping up the soil on the potatoes?
You do, yes. When you're growing them in a bag, you start off with your layer of compost in the bottom and you plant your potatoes into that. And then as they grow and the leaves show, you and the stalks show, you earth them up. You add more compost to almost cover them. And so and you can also unroll the bag as well so that gets deeper and deeper. So by the time they're flowering and they're ready to harvest, your bag's gone from that to that, you know. So you've got a big deep bag with your lovely potatoes in it. Yes, so you do.
Thanks,
It's called
Jenny.
earthing them up.
Yeah, thanks, Jenny. On that, the topping up. So when you start, how much soil do you have when you start?
Oh, I would start. You probably want about 20 centimeters maybe in the bottom, just to give them a start. Yeah.
Okay, and like when you're topping them up, every time they show, you top them up.
Top them up, yes.
Up to obviously at some point you stop doing that.
You do. You stop doing that when they flower. So when they flower, that means that the potatoes are ready. So you just keep doing that. So it's a few weeks of keeping an eye on them and topping up to the side of the leaves, and then once they've flowered, you're like, yay, I can harvest the potatoes.
So while it's just leaves that are growing, you can top it up and just cover it, and then it will come through again.
Yeah, well,
until it flowers.
you don't cover the leaf. You just go to underneath to the underside of the leaf. So
okay,
here's the leaf, and you just yeah. And
so, but before that, it's not growing a leaf yet. It's just growing. The leaf doesn't grow immediately. Take it. It starts to.
Yes, it starts to come through. So your potato with the sprouts on it, you're putting into your 20 centimeters of soil, covering
Yes.
covering them so you don't see them, and then they start to sprout their leaves. So it's at that point that you're putting soil in underneath.
Okay, so just letting the leaves poke out and the rest is all covered.
Yes.
This is, I take it that it's to stop any of the potatoes being exposed.
Yes.
So they have to be, the potato has to stay under the
does.
soil
It
for
does.
you to have a good potato.
That's
Yeah.
right. You've got to keep them in the dark. Keep your
Yes.
potatoes in the dark.
Thank you.
Except when you're chitting. Except when you're chitting them, you want them in the
Yeah.
light.
Okay. Thank you. That's lovely. Thanks.
Thanks.
And we have another question. How do you transfer the saplings from the plastic containers to a bigger pot outside?
Or outside. Yeah, so if you're transplanting, say you're growing peas on your windowsill and you want to transplant them outside, so you'd have your tray full. Get a tray. And you'd have your little seedlings, and then you'd want to use, well, I use a fork actually, like a fork out the cutlery drawer, or a teaspoon, whatever you want. So your seedlings are in here, and you want to literally dig one out of your tray. So you just go in and lever it out like that, and it'll come out. It'll come out. If you can imagine, it's growing in here with its little lovely white roots in there. So you can see that. So you're just bringing it out in like a teaspoonful or a forkful of soil, and you're popping that into a bigger individual pot. So like the pots before, you know, if you wanted to transfer them into a bigger pot like that, or peas, you mean you could sow directly into a pot like this, you know, you could, to save you having to prick it out. But if you want pricking out to be part of the activity, then yeah, do them in a big tray. Or you can buy trays that are divided up into cells as well. That helps. Yeah, and you could put one in each one, and then you can just go you can go in with your fork into the cell just to gently bring it out and pot it up into a larger pot. And then from this size of pot, by the time you get to the end of May and there's not any more frost, you would want to put that into the ground or into a much larger container, maybe that you were going to grow your peas in, and then make a wigwam for your peas out of canes.
Okay, so you wouldn't put these seedlings outside initially. You might repot them, you might prick them out and put them in, but you wouldn't put them outside unless you had a greenhouse or a polytunnel or something.
If you had somewhere, you've got to keep them frost free, and you've got to keep them relatively warm, you know, above sort of I don't know what, maybe 10 to 15 degrees. You want them to be relatively warm. So what you do once you get to the stage that they're out of the seed tray and they're into a sort of slightly larger pot, you can start to put them outdoors if it's a nice day and it's going to be warm, but you must bring them, you know, that's called hardening off. They get used to being outdoors towards the end of the time when you want to plant them out. So you can get them used to the outdoor conditions, but you've got to be very careful not to let them get chilled or frosted. That's the trick.
That's great. That's great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okie dokie. Any last minute questions before I finish up? I'll give that wee second just to see if there's any more.
No. Has anybody got anything really unusual that they've grown on their windowsill that they're very proud of? There's lots of people have lovely things that they grow on their windowsills. You can show us them as well. That'd be fab.
I've saved like a wee lavender plant, a wee lavender cutting, and it seems to be doing okay, but I'm not sure what to do with it. You know, I suppose at some point it will need to go out.
Yeah.
Either into I don't have any outside space, but it would need to go somewhere outside in a pot or into a garden or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wouldn't be happy, I imagine, in a small pot in the house forever.
Well, you can see how it likes it. You know, I mean, the thing about lavender, it grows. It's, you know, it's naturalized in countries that are very warm and dry. So, you know, it might enjoy your windowsill very much, in which case you could keep it there until it gets quite big. You know,
Okay.
they're like they come from the Mediterranean, so if your windowsill's like the Mediterranean, it's going to love it there.
Okay. That's like rosemary too. Yeah.
Yes,
Rosemary is the
exactly.
same. Yes.
That's right.
Lovely.
It is the same. Yeah, so you can
Okay.
keep them.
I might keep it and just see if it's not hasn't flowered or anything, but it's looking.
It's looking healthy. That's great.
Yeah, I don't know how long it would take for it to flower. You know, if it will flower, maybe it needs to be outside, you know, that cross pollination, and I don't know, maybe it needs to be with other lavender plants to flower. I don't know.
Okay. No, well, it should flower on its own without the help of other lavender plants.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, see how it goes this summer. See if it produces some flowers for you.
Lovely, thank you.
Thanks.